Welcome back, guys, and welcome to stage one of our off season, which is going to be a season recap or year in review type video. So as you can see here, we're going to start with wrapping up the playoffs since our season is obviously over, and then we're going to recap things like the overall league leaders, yearly awards, our team stats and rankings, as well as our individual leaders. And then at the end of the video, we're going to have our top 10 plays / moments from this season. But starting off here, obviously we lost to the Eagles 27-20, and as you probably saw scrolling across the bottom during that game, the Bengals took down the Ravens 24-13, and the Browns upset the Chiefs 35-32, so it's an all AFC North wildcard matchup in the AFC Championship. Then in the other NFC game, the number 1 seed Lions made sure there would be a new NFC champion this year as they smashed the Rams 49-28 and will host the NFC Championship against the Eagles, and that sets us up to move on to find out who will be playing in Super Bowl 54, and that will be the Browns coming out of the AFC with a 28-21 win over the Bengals, and the Eagles ride the wild card all the way to another Super Bowl appearance with a 24-17 win over the Lions. So a pair of wild cards in the Super Bowl, and our season 1 Super Bowl 54 champion is the Philadelphia Eagles with a 28-24 win over the Browns. Jordan Howard wins Super Bowl MVP with 2 touchdowns on the ground and 2 touchdowns through the air as the Eagles dominate time of possession and win their second Super Bowl in 3 years. The Browns' dream team comes up just shy of their first Super Bowl in franchise history, but they look poised to be a postseason contender for years to come. All right, with that covered, we move on to the final league leaders of the year, starting with the passers, where Matt Ryan came up 84 yards shy of 5,000 to lead the way in passing yards. Andrew Luck's career lives on in digital form, and he throws for a career-high 41 touchdowns to lead the league. And then Dak Prescott's 121.9 passer rating is the league's highest since Aaron Rodgers in 2011. Ezekiel Elliott wins his 3rd rushing title with 1,762 yards rushing. Kerryon Johnson came into the year with 3 career rushing touchdowns and puts up 15 in his second season to lead the way there. And then Devontae Freeman's league-leading 5.6 yards per carry will be part of the reason our run blocking slider is significantly reduced this offseason. Austin Hooper made 109 receptions and becomes the first tight end to lead the league in receptions since Tony Gonzalez did so in 2004. Julio Jones comes up 15 yards shy of his career high and blew the league away with his 1,856 yards receiving. And then Keenan Allen added 3 touchdowns in the final week to run away with the receiving touchdown lead, finishing up the year with 17. Then lastly, for the defensive leaders, we have our own Deion Jones, who notched nearly 200 tackles on the year. Vaunted pass rusher Von Miller takes home the sack crown for surprisingly the first time in his career with 16.5 sacks. And then Keanu Neal was one among many, including our rookie cornerback Jordan Miller, tied for the league lead with 5 picks on the year. Next up, we're going to take a very quick look at the Pro Bowl roster that included 10 Atlanta Falcons, starting of course with Matt Ryan. Next up, we had fullback Ricky Ortiz, and of course wide receiver Julio Jones with his nearly 1,900 yards receiving. Austin Hooper led in receptions and was the starting tight end. Despite all the sacks we allowed, we actually had Alex Mack make the Pro Bowl as the backup center. Then on defense, tackles leader Deion Jones at middle linebacker makes his second Pro Bowl appearance. Then joining him on defense, we also provided both the starting safeties for the NFC in Ricardo Allen at free safety and Keanu Neal at strong safety. And then wrapping up here with the special teamers, both Giorgio Tavecchio and Matt Bosher also received Pro Bowl nods. From the Pro Bowl, we're going to move to yearly awards and start with the league's most valuable player, which was Colts quarterback Andrew Luck. Luck retired in real life but continues his legacy on the gaming gridiron, throwing for over 4,000 yards and 41 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions. Luck becomes the first Colt to win the league MVP since Peyton Manning won it back in 2009. The league's coach of the year goes to Ravens head coach John Harbaugh. In his 12th season as Baltimore's leader, he led the Ravens to a 13-3 record and the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Ravens featured both a top 5 offense and defense, led by their ability to both run the ball at will and stop the run on defense. Despite the outstanding year, the Ravens were one and done in the playoffs as they were eliminated in the divisional round. The AFC Rookie of the Year goes to Denver Broncos tight end and 20th overall pick in the 2019 draft, Noah Fant. The rookie tight end caught 66 passes for 647 yards and 6 touchdowns to become the first Broncos Rookie of the Year in 17 years, with Clinton Portis being the last Denver player to win it back in 2002. On the NFC side, side, it's no surprise that number 1 overall pick Kyler Murray wins the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Murray threw for 3,664 yards and had 29 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, while winning 3 Player of the Week awards this year to become the first number 1 overall pick to win Rookie of the Year since Cam Newton in 2011. On the defensive side, rookie Steelers linebacker Devin Bush takes home the Rookie of the Year for the AFC. Bush tallied 105 tackles with 9 going for loss and also had 3 sacks along with a forced and recovered fumble. The 10th overall pick out of Michigan is the first Steeler Defensive Rookie of the Year since Kendrell Bell in 2001. On the other side, it was another rookie named Devin as 5th overall pick, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers linebacker Devin White wins the NFC Defensive Rookie of the Year. White notched 95 tackles with 63 being of the solo variety and 9 being behind the line of scrimmage. The LSU product also tallied a half sack and 1 pass deflection to become the first Defensive Rookie of the Year in Bucs franchise history. From the league side of things to focusing on our own team, we start with our final team stats and league rankings for the offensive side of the ball, where we led the league in both points per game with 29.3 and yards per game with 416.2. We were 3rd in both passing and rushing, but when it came to touchdowns, we were 2nd in passing scores and 2nd to last in rushing scores. And then we also led the league with the most first downs as we moved the chains 338 times this season. Shifting to the defense, we see an entirely different story. We managed to only be 18th in opponent scoring, giving up 24.5 points per game, and that's in spite of being a league worst in opponent yards per game as we gave up 406.7. Playing into that number was our dead last pass defense and 29th ranked rushing defense. However, as always seems to be the case with Madden, despite being a terrible defense, we were first in the league in sacks, fumbles, and interceptions. Now from team to individual statistics, we start with the passers, where Matt Ryan played the whole year and was the only passer with stats, and he had a solid year with a nearly 72% completion percentage while throwing for nearly 5,000 yards. The 37-18 touchdown to interception ratio could have been better, but ultimately wasn't bad and kind of fell in line with his ratings. On to the rushers, we start with Devontae Freeman, who racked up 1,282 yards rushing and 5 scores on the ground before missing the last 3 games due to injury. Ito Smith had a nice year as a secondary back with 560 yards rushing and a 5.3 yard per carry average, but also went down with an injury at the end of the year. Brian Hill received a dev upgrade via breakout scenario and had 283 yards rushing. And then lastly, Quadri Allison had a miserable time as he only picked up 5 yards rushing on 15 carries, but did find the end zone 1 time this season. The receiving leaders start with Julio Jones, who had a monster year with 99 catches, 1,856 yards receiving, and 12 touchdowns as he totally lived up to his 98 overall and X-Factor dev. Austin Hooper also had a monster year, coming up clutch time after time with tough catches, and finished the year with 109 receptions, 1,236 yards, and 5 scores through the air. Mohamed Sanu made for a nice secondary option and was a constant red zone target with 8 touchdowns in addition to his 66 catches for 739 yards. And then Calvin Ridley was 4th in line but put up respectable numbers with 51 catches for 525 yards and 4 touchdowns, and will also look to be a bigger part of the offense next season. Next up is our defensive leaders, where we start with Deion Jones, who did just about everything this year with 189 tackles, 25 of which went for a loss. He also threw in 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, 14 pass deflections, and a safety on the year. Keanu Neal was a human wrecking ball who seemingly had 10 hit sticks a game and finished with 9 forced fumbles on the year. Adrian Claiborne led the team in sacks with 14 on the season, including 5 in a Week 12 rout of the Buccaneers. And then wrapping up the defense is Pro Bowler Ricardo Allen, who had 120 tackles and 3 interceptions from his free safety position. And then wrapping up with our special teams leaders, Giorgio Tavecchio was 39 of 40 kicking field goals and also had an extra point blocked, but did remarkably well for a guy that couldn't keep a job in the NFL, further proving that kick accuracy doesn't actually matter. Matt Bosher averaged a cool 51.1 yards per punt, which will result in a heavy slider decrease when it comes to punt power. He left 25 punts inside the 20 with only 2 going into the end zone for touchbacks during his Pro Bowl season. And then some pretty unexciting numbers from our returners, where Justin Hardy handled the kick returns for most of the year and averaged 23.9 yards per return with a long of 36. Hardy also was our sole punt returner and averaged 11.6 yards per return there. And then I moved Jalen Myrick into the kick return role towards the end of the year, and he did slightly better, returning 7 kicks for an average of just under 25 yards per return. But now it's finally time for the top 10 plays and moments of the season, where we start all the way back in week 1. We're down 3 in the 4th quarter. Matt Ryan drops a dime into Devontae Freeman for the 12-yard score, which puts the Falcons out in front in a game they would ultimately lose 33-27. At number 9, Deuce Douglas's doo-doo user defense was a topic of conversation all season long, but in week 5 against the Texans, he took things into his own hands as he made the user pick with Ricardo Allen and brought it back 29 yards for the score to give the Falcons a 31-24 lead in Houston. And at number 8, we go to later in that same game. We're tied at 37 with 3 minutes to go. Matt Ryan throws short to Julio Jones and lets him do the rest as he makes a house call for a 61-yard score, and that would be the difference as the Falcons picked up a 44-37 win. At lucky number 7, it's the final nail in the coffin of a 51-20 Buccaneer beatdown as Jameis Winston overthrows his intended target. Keanu Neal picks him off and brings it back the length of the field for a 98-yard pick six as the Falcons took first place for the first time and never looked back. At number 6, it's more from the same game as Adrian Claiborne playing for an injured Grady Jarrett showed up in a big way as he registered not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 sacks of Jameis Winston as the Falcons plundered first place from the Buccaneers in their Week 12 meeting. At number 5, it's out with the Michael Vick experience and in with the Julio Jones X-Factor experience as he quite literally single-handedly took over the second half of the Week 15 game as he made a pair of one-handed catches as well as mossed Richard Sherman on the sideline to help the Falcons pick up a 21-9 win against the 49ers. At number 4, the defense takes center stage as they stand tall not once but twice at the goal line to keep the Seahawks out of the end zone and pick up a 25-13 win to get us back to 500. At number 3 is an NFL postseason record as rookie Jordan Miller halts an Eagles scoring opportunity, picking off Carson Wentz in the end zone before getting up and creating one of his own as he heads 106 yards up the sideline for a pick six to give the Falcons a 10-3 lead in our divisional round loss to the Eagles. At number 2, nothing is sweeter than devastating division rivals except maybe doing it on a family holiday, and on Thanksgiving, Austin Hooper skies up with under 2 minutes to go to make an incredible catch to tie things up at 24 and send the game to overtime, where after a New Orleans field goal, Ito Smith sends everyone home happy as he finds the end zone from 20 yards out for another Falcons win. And finally, at number 1, it's more division devastation as after trailing 28-10, Matt Ryan throws to Justin Hardy, who can't quite get into the end zone. Falcons rush back to the line, just get the snap off, where Ryan then finds Mohamed Sanu in the end zone with no time on the clock. Falcons would then go on to complete the comeback by kicking a field goal to win 48-31 in overtime. But that's going to do it, guys. Let me know what you thought of this layout for a season recap, year in review type video, as well as what you liked, didn't like, and if there was anything that you would have liked to see here that you didn't get to see. In previous franchises, I've done the entire offseason in one video, but this time around, I'm going to try to do the stages in separate videos, so there will be one video covering free agency and then one video covering the draft, so hopefully you guys will enjoy that. But stay tuned, as currently on the docket is free agency, the draft, brand new sliders, and then the preseason before we are right back into the regular season. Hope you guys enjoy.